So this week I'm standing on possibly the most famous steps in Belfast. We're here at the Titanic Exhibition Centre for the launch of Titanic The Musical, which opens at the Grand Opera House here in Belfast in April. We're going to meet the director and the producers as well. So Titanic The Musical arrives here in Belfast in April. It's the launch today, and we're here in the perfect venue for it, aren't we?
I mean, it couldn't be better. It really does feel like we've come home, that Titanic has come home.
So everybody knows the story of Titanic, but how is it told through this musical?
The musical is rather unique, I think. In the adaptations of the Titanic story, there has been a tendency to sort of fabricate a central role or to look at a fake story, where Titanic the Musical tells the real story of what happened on board. Peter Stone, who wrote the script to the musical, desperately wanted to focus on the real people who boarded the ship and the events of that tragic crossing and the night. So it's true and honest and real. I think that's sort of the uniqueness of this show.
And of course there's some amazing music and amazing songs in it, isn't there?
Yeah, Maury Yeston has composed the most stunning Broadway score. It's huge, sweeping, epic, romantic. It leaves you wanting nothing. It's just the most incredible score.
And it's a worldwide story. I mean, this is toured all over the world, hasn't it?
We've been so fortunate. This production started in London in 2013, and we've seen it arrive in Tokyo, in Canada, hopefully into the US as well. So yes, absolutely. It seems that the story of the Titanic really is universal.
And of course, it'll have a special place in Belfast when it arrives here, won't it?
It was quite. We arrived this morning from London, and it was so emotional. I think just getting off the plane and realizing that we really have come home. The story, the musical focuses on characters and the people who are Belfast people, and to be here and so in the Titanic exhibition here in Titanic Belfast, it's just incredible sense of a momentous occasion that the musical about this legendary ship has really, really, truly come home.
And before you got the job of directing this, were you one of those Titanic fans? Were you obsessed with it? Yeah.
I was a self-confessed Titanorac. That's what they're sort of called. I was sort of amazed at the story, and I think Maury Yeston and Peter Stone's telling of this tale in the musical, it sort of makes that even more interesting, because it's all real. The events of what we see on stage are what really happened. Mm-hmm. And it's a story that everybody knows the end of.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the story that everybody knows time and time again, but the musical tells a story of its people, and we don't know that story. So, and you're halfway through the first act, and of course the event hasn't happened yet, but you get swept up in these wonderful characters. There's over 100 characters that appear in this piece that are told by 24 actors on stage. Wow. So there's lots of costumes and sets, but it's all real, and I think every time I watch it and I see it, it sort of really brings it home, the true human effect of what happened.
Well, this all started back in 2011-12 when I was looking for a show to do at Sutherland Playhouse, which is a teeny tiny 200-seat theatre in London. And I'd been talking to Maury Yeston, the composer, about a different title. And that title wasn't available, so he offered me Titanic. And I said, are you mad? We're doing it in a 200-seat theatre. It won't fit. And he then talked about this chamber version that existed. And I don't think he'd got to the end of the sentence before we said yes. So I started it at Sutherland Playhouse, and then we took it to Toronto. And then Stephen, who I won't speak for him, but loves the show, approached, and we took it to Charing Cross, and that's why we're here.
Toured all over the world. Did you ever imagine it was going to become this big?
I think one only has to look at the musical Fiddler on the Roof, strangely enough, which is to say it's one of the most popular musicals in Japan. And you say, what do Jewish people in the regional parts of Russia have to do with Japan? And you then tear back that layer of the piece, and you see that the piece is really about family, tradition, and things that resonate in other cultures. Similarly, when you see a show like Titanic, aside from the obvious obvious romance people have with the story, you're learning about not only the class system, but the hopes, dreams, aspirations of people that are on board that ship. And it's a deeply human story. So I think it has an effect on most people that see it, whether or not they're personally interested in ships or not. There's just an underlying message that strikes people very deeply.
Of course, the great thing about this as well, there's some amazing music and amazing songs in it, isn't there?
Oh, the score is sublime. I think that was what first attracted me to the piece, was just that Maury Yeston writes the most beautiful music. And to hear it sung by 25 people with a beautiful chamber orchestra, it will make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up on end. That is a guarantee.
And I think one of the qualities of Maury as a composer is very often you see a musical where there's dialogue, it stops, you have a musical number, it stops, you go back to dialogue. And throughout the show, Maury has woven the score, and there's musical underscoring even during the dialogue scenes. And when the music stops in a dialogue scene and there's no underscoring, there's a dramatic reason for it. Maury, of all the theatrical composers, understands that the music is very much part of telling the story and bringing out the drama, and not just a diversion from the dialogue scenes. And I think he does that brilliantly.